State of the Union. I was doing this previously on our newsletter. It was in written form, but I'm going to be trying to do this in video form going forward. Um, Unlike the last State of the Union you probably saw, no McDonald's, no suit and tie, just a man ranting in his bedroom.
State of the Union.
You see my beautiful Brad Stevens AI image here on the screen. We're going to be talking some Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins, just going around the horn, doing a little update on everything. I feel like it's a good time to do it. As you know, the rest of the guys are in Indy for the Combine, talking NFL drafts. So, yeah, post Super Bowl, we're finally have a light at the end of the tunnel. We're gonna go through the draft, and then it's on to training camp, and so on and so forth. Basketball and hockey are coming down the stretch before the playoffs, and baseball's in spring training. So it's big time coming up. World Baseball Classic, obviously, soon as well. March Madness, one of my favorite events of the entire sporting calendar.
So on and so forth.
Excited, but we're going to talk some Boston sports here, so bear with me if this isn't exactly your cup of tea, but we're going to start with the Patriots. Just going to run through some of the bigger topics right now. As you know, as I already mentioned, coming into the draft, feel like there's a lot of positions of need for the Patriots, but none bigger than edge rusher, wide receiver, and offensive line. Those are the three things that I think they have to address this year. Edge rusher, obviously, there's rumors of Max Crosby. It's going back and forth. They signed his position coach as the defensive coordinator. They said they plan on him playing there this year. We'll see what comes of that. I'd obviously be over the moon if you're going to bring in a talent like that. I don't really care what the cost is going to be. But Caleb Von Chason had a career year for the Patriots. He was fantastic here, especially down the stretch in the playoffs. Really the only guy kind of getting pressure on the quarterback consistently off the edge with the Harold Landry injury. And honestly, I think in New England, the two D tackles in the middle, Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, it's really not as big of a position of importance as it would be for other teams because of how much havoc gets created with those guys and drawing double teams and whatnot. I feel like you can sign a guy like Chason. He just proved it to you. Why go anywhere else when you already know what you have in the room? I think that's one of the priorities, whether it's him, a trade, something, but I think you can get away with re-signing Chason. What the number looks like is going to be a little bit different. Offensive line, you have to add at least one starting caliber lineman this year, in my opinion. Whether that's through free agency, the draft, trade, I don't really care how you get it done. Will Campbell got a lot of flack down the stretch. Obviously, well warranted and probably a good learning experience for him because this is sports media, and especially in a place like this where we take it so seriously, you got to have some experiences like that to really settle in. Played well before the injury too this year. His only sub 70 PFF grade before the injury was in week 7. So, I mean, average to above average for most of the year up until then. I feel like it is a valid excuse. Not trying to let the guy completely off the hook. Like, the performances we got in the biggest moments of the season were completely unacceptable. But the injury and being a rookie are valid excuses to me, at least for the first season. Struggling down the stretch is what it is, but I do believe that he's going to figure it out and be a starting caliber lineman. He was for most of the season. I don't know why people are so out on him. I feel like they're just bringing back the draft criticism of small arms, he's a guard. And listen, if you get a guy, like, hey, we're shooting big here, but Trent Williams is in contract disputes with the 49ers. If somebody like that comes available, absolutely go get them and kick Will Campbell inside. But I have no problem with you running it back for another season and seeing how it pans out. I'm not worried about Will Campbell as much as everybody else seems to be. And worst case scenario, you flip him over to the right side. There's so many things that can happen. It's really a non-factor to me. Regardless, whether he plays well this season or not, you're going to have to add somebody else. You're going to have to kick Jared Wilson back into the center position despite Garrett Bradbury playing well this year. But I think that's the move you got to do there. And then wide receiver, one of the bigger question marks, especially with the Stephon Diggs situation, court case, whatever. He was the first New England wide receiver in 6 years to have 1,000 yards. He's set to carry a $26.5 million cap hit into 2026, and his contract guarantees him $6 million if he's on the roster on March 13th. So that decision may be coming a little quicker before people realize. Um, Gives you a deadline, March 13th. The dilemma is the Patriots want to get better at wide receiver while Drake May is still young and on his rookie deal. You don't have to pay him an egregious amount of money like some of these other franchise quarterbacks, which he has proven to be. Uh, but the $26.5 million is a lot of money for a receiver who's going to turn 33 next year, has off-field issues, injury history. We got a good year out of him, fantastic. But what's that look like going forward? Naturally, with AJ Brown's comments and just the overall situation that he has going on in Philadelphia and his history to Mike Vrabel, his name's obviously going to keep coming up. I see a lot of people talking about cutting Diggs and using that salary to pay for AJ Brown. Obviously, they have to acquire him via trade, but that contract's still a hefty amount. Um, Regardless, much like the offensive line, I think you're going to have to bring in a real name at receiver, whether it's a high end rookie with your first or second round pick, or an AJ Brown, or you bring Diggs back. Something else has to come into the room. Kayshon Boutte's proven reliable when he actually gets the ball, but it's inconsistent most of the time. His actual receptions. Mac Hollins' impact was clearly missed when he was injured, and he was the only guy who could really get anything going against Seattle. The game was already lost at that point, but he had some big catches. Um, but overall, there's a whole lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s in that wide receiver room. You either need somebody like Kyle Williams to step up and be a true number 1, which I don't really think is in his repertoire, or you need to go acquire one. The game was already lost at that point, but he had some big catches. We'll wrap up on the Patriots here. I got zero concerns about Drake. He's proven he's a guy. I'm not worried about the murderer's row of defenses we faced in the playoffs, the phantom shoulder injury, however much of an impact that was. Not worried. Lack of protection is obviously glaring. Playmaking and edge rush. Those are the 3 things I need you to go get. Off-ball linebacker would be nice too, but we'll see what happens. Really not concerned with the Patriots. We way overperformed, and it's a building block for a whole new culture that's been installed, and I'm just excited for the next season to get underway. We're going to move into the Celtics. We got Brad Stevens over there on the right side of your screen. The wizard that he is. This was supposed to be a gap year for the Celtics. Jason Tatum goes down in the playoffs with a torn Achilles. Jaylen Brown gets free reign as a true number 1, and they had to shed a ton of salary. Obviously, Porzingis and Drew Holiday were the casualties of that. But they did it all. And somehow they're still the 2 seed in the East, and Tatum is right around the corner from returning, whether it's the 1st, the 14th. I think it's been made pretty clear that he will be back and soon. He's already in 5-on-5 scrimmages. Shams reported that the other day, so we're right there. We've survived. And we've survived because Brad Stevens does not rebuild, he reloads. Shireman, Hauser, Cada, Ron Harper Jr., and Derek White was the starting 5 the other night against the Phoenix Suns, and we went on a 50-11 run. If you told me that was the starting 5, like in July, post-injury and preseason, I would be like, what? Our record has got to be horrible. We're going to be picking top 5. Nope, second in the East. And a lot of the other teams in the East are completely unproven. Pistons are obviously having a fantastic season, but we haven't really seen them do it in the playoffs yet. The Knicks were the team that outed you last year, so I'll give you that. The Cavs, pretty good. James Harden just broke his hand, though, so we'll see how far that goes. And then the Raptors, the Sixers, the Magic, the Heat, the Hawks, I don't trust any of those teams. I think if Jason Tatum comes back and he's 70%, this Celtics team can come out of the East. The West, there's 5 or 6 teams that I think might beat you in a 7-game series if Jason Tatum's at 70%. But regardless, we've tread water long enough. We're in a position where he can come back in and we can immediately compete. And I don't think a lot of people really thought that was a possibility. Cada, Shireman, Walsh, Gonzalez, Garza, Harper Jr., Amari Williams, all acquisitions this season, aside from Cada and Shireman. They were here last year, but they weren't really getting playing time like they are now. The rest of those guys, all acquisitions by Brad this season. The rest are draft picks. The guy just continues to do it. He will refuse to let the Celtics not have a winning record. I see he just had an interview with Shaughnessy, I believe, today on the Boston Globe, and he was like, "I don't ever want to put a ceiling on this team, and if he keeps doing moves like this and the results show, then who am I to not believe him?" Amari Williams, by the way, fourth triple double in Maine. You have that guy just waiting in the wings after the Vucevic contract is up. Garza, whoever you lose as a big, Amari Williams is ready to come right in next year. And this team's scary. All these kids are young, and Joe Mazzulla should 100% be coach of the year. I don't even think it's a debate. Celtics have allowed nearly 10 points per game fewer than any other NBA team in the month of February. They've held opponents to 96.7 points. That is the lowest scoring full month by any team in 8 years. Next closest is Detroit at 105.4. Houston's also tied at that number. But wide margin. Everyone's completely bought into this system. And the kids are playing way better than anyone thought they would. Simon's trade for Vucevic, I thought, was the last real sign of Tatum is definitely coming back. So they wouldn't have kept Simons on the team if they're going to have to get somebody else in that's going to be ball dominant. But post All-Star break, I talked about the 50-11 run against the Suns the other night. We went 3-1 on a 4-game West Coast trip. We're back in Boston tonight against the Nets, finally back in home territory. We beat the Lakers on last Sunday night, prime time, on the back of a red-hot Peyton Pritchard, who just could not be stopped, yelling at Reggie Miller, doing whatever he needed to do. Exciting time for the Celtics. I really didn't think at the start of the year that we were going to be... I figured we'd be in a low playoff spot because the East is such a dumpster fire, but the fact that we're this high up and still have Tatum coming back can't not be excited for the playoffs. Let's move to the Red Sox. These next two are going to be a little bit quicker just because of where we're at. We talked Bruins on one of the last episodes of Great North and hockey in general. Only one game being played since the Olympic break, but it was a win. 4-2 win over Columbus last night. This Bruins team is just incredibly streaky. We have 2 6-game win streaks this season and 2 6-game losing streaks this season. But when they're hot, they're hot. If they can, build on this win post-Olympic break, Korpisalo in net, giving Swayman a break after all the travel and whatnot. Korpisalo also got banged up, had a little emergency goalie situation. We had DiPietro come in and I think he had 2 saves. It was just funny because I was literally watching the David Ayers, that whole highlights of those games, or that game, excuse me, the other day. Sure enough, turned on the Bruins last night, and we're warming up a goalie. Wild stuff. Korpisalo played really well last night. 4-2 win. Lost where I was, sorry. But as a whole, Bruins have completely overperformed my expectations. I know I made it pretty clear in the preseason and the offseason that I was not super happy with the direction the team was going. I thought it was going to be a couple of years before we were really competing again, but here we are, a couple months out from the playoffs, and we are the second wild card spot with a 4-point lead right now. I think some of the worst, one of the glaring holes for the Bruins is goals allowed and the penalty kill. Defense has really been an issue for them. I think they found some guys that are able to tread water for us a little bit in that regard, but I do think there needs to be some major revamping to the defense in the coming years. But 76% penalty kill, that's 27th in the league. When your power play is at 3rd, goals for 7th, but goals allowed 18th, penalty kill 27th. Not hard to figure out why you're not holding leads when we get them. You can look at the Stadium Series against Tampa Bay. They blew a 4-goal lead. A month before that, they blew a 5-1 lead. It's just kind of what they do. Morgan Geeky's going to be a 40-goal guy, but if you can get a real third forward to come forward. Wordplay. It'd be massive for the program. David Pasternak's obviously one of the top 5 forwards in the league. Geeky's been performing incredible this season, like I said, on pace for 40. You would hope somebody like Lindholm or one of those guys could really contribute a little bit more points wise, but we're getting it done regardless. Tons of guys between 10 and 20 goals. Fraser Minton was an absolute steal from the Leafs, and we have their first round pick. Maybe they should just just try to focus on keeping that from here on out. I think it's top 5 protected, but much better spot than I expected to be in. And if I'm going to get some playoff hockey, I mean, fuck it, anything can happen once we get there. Everybody knows that. I don't think you really. Feel like the Lightning and the Hurricanes are just the cream of the crop of the Eastern Conference, and then the teams like the Red Wings, Canadian Sabres, Bruins, Penguins, Islanders, Capitals, they're all kind of just in that gray area to me, where it's really just going to matter about seeding, and one good team is really going to get left out of the playoffs. But when you look at the Western Conference, I don't think you match up with the Avalanche. I don't think you match up with the Wild, the Stars, the Knights, the Oilers, like. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like I said, anything can happen once you get to the playoffs, but pleasantly surprised with the Bruins right now. Head over to baseball. This will be our last little bit here. Trying to keep these quick, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. Spring training fully underway. Roster is probably set at this point. I don't think anybody's going to be... No more acquisitions are going to be made, no more trades. It's really about just gelling, meshing, get everybody in shape. World Baseball Classic right around the corner. Where's my tab? There we go. There's a projection for the Red Sox lineup this season. Roman Anthony, they've already said he's going to be leading off. Captain America. Trevor Story, 2. Jarren Duran in the 3 spot. Contreras, Wilyer Abreu, Caleb Durbin, who you acquired from Milwaukee, Marcelo Meyer, Cedar Rafaela, and Carlos Narvaez. ESPN has them ranked 19th in the league with that lineup. A lot of upside here. There's tons of young guys that really haven't hit their ceiling yet. Wilyer Abreu just has that untapped potential that just really hope he can start putting it together against lefties. Jarren Duran hit a homer off Chris Sale today, lefty on lefty. I think he hit 185 against lefties last year, so if we can start doing that a little bit more consistently, I think that's something this team really struggled with as a whole last year, which is why guys like Romy Gonzalez and Rob Refsnyder were so important. But if you can get some of these younger guys to really start being able to put the ball in play against lefties, it's going to be huge for us. Meyer, Wilyer, Roman to an extent. He started to do it towards the end of the year, but one of those guys is going to have to take a massive leap. They're already relying a ton on Roman Anthony. I'm not super worried about that. I think he's going to be the guy here. But a guy like Wilyer, Sadon, Marcel, somebody's going to have to step up and be an all-star type talent for you this year, whether it's one of those guys, Christian Campbell, maybe Tristan Casas comes back and he's the middle of the order bat that everybody has been hoping he would be since he got drafted. Contreras obviously has a ton of upside playing in Fenway. Same thing with Durbin, honestly. He had a ton of left field power last year, missing out on... Fly balls in Milwaukee are going to be doubles for him off the monster here, and I'm excited for that. But as a whole, this lineup is just not what it could be, and Bregman posted that picture of him and Rafi dapping up in different jerseys, and it just broke me to my core. Absolutely brutal to see on the timeline. But we're right here, 27 days to go, I believe, 26, 27, something like that till opening day. I feel like I got everything. Oh, Peyton Tolley's America presentation. If people have not seen that, please go check it out. It's all over social media. If Bruce Buffer got as hype as Peyton Tolley did doing a walkout for the UFC, he would have dropped that on the spot. He would have blown out every fucking valve on his heart. I thought the way he did it, it made me think that Joey Chestnut was going to come out. Like come straight out of it rip through a wall or something, Kool-Aid Man style. But no, it was a Zoom call. It was like Payne Tolley screamed for 45 seconds straight trying to introduce Joey Chestnut, and then he just turned and stared at a screen. It was wild. Um, Super funny video. Just showing off Peyton Tully's personality. I think is going to get him super far. Uh, Love that guy. I hope the pitching goes with it. The personality is there. We just need the secondary pitches to come along with it. But Red Sox, I've said a lot of bad things about them this offseason, just ownership wise, GM wise, decision wise. But every time I get down on them, much like the Bruins, is when they just refuse to die and they end up going on a crazy run, and I'm totally invested down the stretch. So I'm hoping that's what happens, but I'm really just waiting for baseball to get underway. World Baseball Classic coming up will tide me over in the meantime, but spring training doesn't do anything for me. I don't care about Jared Duran hitting a home run off Chris Sale in February. I want to see it happen in September, and July, and April, and hopefully October. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna get out of here. Something quick. We might be doing these live, edited going forward. We'll see the best way to do it. But appreciate anybody tuning in, and we'll be back Wednesday. I'm sure the Sportsocracy is going to be live with No Sleeves Network and Armchair at some point today. I think, if not, they'll be around at some point with a ton of Combine stuff. Check out the content on the socials. You can find it all: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X, all up top there. And yeah, appreciate everybody